Hi guys, it's Ashley from Ashley's Paper Heart, and I just want to say welcome. If you're new here, I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you found me. And if you are coming back, I am so glad that you're back. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe because I would love to have you around, and I love hanging out with you guys. So, with that being said, today we are working on another journal with me. This is another video kind of like in from my archives of footage. I filmed so much footage in April and I just did not get around to editing and doing voiceover, so I have quite a bit, and I believe this is like one of the last ones that I have from April. So we're doing something a little bit different this time. I first started with doing some watercolor painting on my pages. I'm actually doing the prompts from the HOBONICHI challenge that month, so the prompts were all centered around floral things, plants. Um, and so I just decided to give it a shot. It's been a while since I've painted in my HOBONICHI. In my first Hobonichi, I did paint almost daily, and I did the Hobonichi challenges, and then I just wasn't super interested in the prompts that they had, so I kind of backed off. But I really wanted to get back into it, and the floral ones really interest me. I'm always down to paint some flowers. It's good practice. It's something that I don't do a lot of, so yeah, I'm down with that. So the watercolor paints that I am currently using are a custom palette that I made for myself. These are Core watercolor paints. Now, the difference from with Core versus other watercolor paints, Core uses a different binder, which they say in their marketing materials that it flows the pigment better with water and that it can be a smoother like finish than maybe watercolors with the traditional binder. So traditional binders for watercolors is typically gum arabic. Sometimes I believe they use, oh gosh, glycol. Is that the right one? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've been in college and we went over that stuff. But yes, this has their own like blend of this company's own blend of a binder, and I actually really enjoy the colors that they come out with. They are, I would say, they're between student grade and professional grade. I wouldn't necessarily say full professional grade watercolors just because a lot of the pigments are mixed and I don't get like perfect results. Now, I do really enjoy Daniel Smith and Schminka. Oh gosh, I cannot think today. But those are my other ones that I do enjoy. And this little travel palette is usually what I will take with me when I'm painting outdoors. It's just a cheap aluminum tin or some sort, little palette that I got from Amazon. And then I had to purchase the little watercolor pans separately, and I filled them up with the colors that I chose. So I'm using the Core, I believe, like earth tones in the bottom, and then I also have the Core Brights in the top. And I have been able to get some really good mixes, especially mixing the two like collections together. They mix really well, they play nice with each other, and I can get a really full range of colors just from, this amount of paints. So, if you don't know, I actually have a background in fine art. I have a bachelor's in fine art. Um, so, I'm pretty well versed in a lot of art, painting and drawing and all sorts of things, different mediums. If you guys ever want a tutorial or any information about color theory or paint mixing, I would be so happy to do that. That's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. I think that it is the greatest thing that we can do as artists to give back is to spread art education to everyone who wants it. Art is it's just a wonderful thing. It's the creativity and just the expression has really like benefited my mental health and my well-being over the years, and this is truly how I get my feelings out on the page, is by painting and drawing and stuff like that. Typically, I do a lot of landscapes. We live in Southern California, so I do paint a lot of California landscapes. I prefer to paint either from reference photo that I've taken myself, or I will paint in person, outdoors, when the weather permits, when it's not like scorching hot and I can find a nice shady place to sit. But yeah, painting is something that I'm incredibly passionate about, and I would love to, make videos that you guys want to see. So if there's anything, painting related or art related, just let me know in the comments, and I will be happy to kind of add that to my list of video ideas that I want to come up with. So speaking of video ideas, I also, in the pipeline, I am now like writing out rough drafts and kind of like outlines for a video series that I would like to do. Basically, I'm not sure what to call it yet, but I want to say like design tips or journaling tips from a graphic designer or something like that. Professionally, I have worked in design and digital design for over 10 years, and I feel like a lot of the 2D design principles and concepts can help people become better journalers, better at collaging, just, kind of that thing. A lot of the design work that I do, well, yes, I have the principles kind of in the back of my head. I mostly go off of intuition. And that was something that that I noticed in college, that I was just naturally kind of like good at it when maybe other people had to work harder at it. And I don't take that for granted. I know like we all have our own natural skills and talents, and art and composition and layout, that's something that is my natural talent. And I'm always glad to share the little tips and tricks that can help people get there and help people see things a little bit different of a way. So now that I finished doing my paintings in my journal, I am now moving on to the collage. I'm curious to know, for those of you who do painting or drawing in your journals, do you do the drawings and paintings first and then do the collage, or do you do collage first and then do the drawings? I've done it both ways, and honestly, I think I prefer putting down the actual drawing or the painting first. Just for the fact, I feel like the times that I've done it the opposite way, I start getting like overly crowded on the page, and my drawing will like basically like get outside of the bounds of where I initially wanted it. I did that on another page. I think it was the page before this. I'm not sure if I don't think I filmed a video for that one, but I was trying to paint a sunflower, and it ended up like just becoming like this giant flower, but it just didn't fit right in the composition because it was too large for the space, but I typically draw kind of large, so I didn't account for the amount of space I needed. Just kind of like squished it in there. So yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys do, so let me know about that too. And because I started with the paintings first, I am trying to stick into the same color family that the paintings are. So I'm sticking mostly to the greens and pinks and purples, and just a little bit of a lighter tone to everything because the paintings are so light. Typically when I'm painting with watercolor, because you want to build up the layers, will typically have like lighter color paintings in my Hobonichi. That being said, my paintings are a little bit more vibrant and have a lot more contrast when I'm painting on watercolor paper, just because, while yes, watercolors do look good on the Tomo River paper, I find that I am not a fan of the buckling and like the warping of the paper, just for the fact that the more water that you add to it, and the pigment will kind of settle in little pools of where the water or where the paper has like buckled and stuff. So I try to work in really light, almost like semi-dry layers, just so that I can avoid having those weird, I don't know, shapes that pop up from having the pigment like sink into the wrinkles of the paper. Typically watercolor paper doesn't do that, especially if you're painting on watercolor paper that is attached to a block. And by a block, I mean basically a stack of watercolor paper that comes in almost like, a pad, but it's attached on 3 sides. So that keeps the paper from like buckling up You can also use artist tape, masking tape, to tape down your composition or your paper first and then paint on top of that, and it also helps with the buckling and the warping of paper. And if all else fails, especially if you're doing a larger piece. So when I'm doing big pieces, I will typically do what they call stretching the paper. And that's where you take your paper and you tape it down to whatever, surface you're painting on, and you make sure that it's very taut on the board or table that you're taping it down on. And then you're going to add water to it and really let the fibers of the paper like soak up that water, so that you're basically training the paper to stay in the correct form for when you do start your painting. So after you add water to it, you dry it off. So usually you take paper towels and just gently like pat and soak up the water, and then you can either let it air dry or use a hair dryer. And then after that, once it's dry, you can paint on it. And because you already added water to the paper, it shouldn't buckle nearly as bad as if, the first time that you would add water to it, because you've told the paper, fibers how to behave. So now we're kind of like getting into the last bit of this video, and hopefully I didn't bore you talking about watercolors and different techniques and whatnot. If you are interested in hearing more about that, just let me know in the comments. Be glad to do a series of videos doing some basic techniques, or just any other like questions that you guys have. I'd love to answer them, or even like do maybe a live stream on Twitch where I can like do live demos and have you guys kind of paint with me. So now that we're kind of at the end, I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me. I always enjoy doing these videos. I love talking with you guys in the comments. Check out my other social medias. They're linked down in the description. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and let me know if there are any videos that you would like me to do in the future. I'm always happy to do requests. So with that being said, I will catch you guys later. I hope you have a great day. Bye.